Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and this is the end of the year book tag. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, only 2 months left until we hit the end of the year, so it seems like a good time to do this one and talk a little bit about what I've still got to read in the next couple of months and just a little look ahead into 2025. I was tagged in this tag by Already Overbooked, so thank you very much for that tag. And I think this was originally created by Ariel Bissett. So I'll leave the relevant links, etc. To folks' channels and videos in the description. So let's crack straight on with these questions then. Question 1. Are there any books you've started this year that you need to finish? There's a couple that I started in September, but put to the side because I was having a slump. So they are DNFs for now, because I just couldn't focus. But I don't think I'll try and get those done by the end of the year, to be fair. I think I'll probably leave those into next year and then probably start them again and try reading them fresh, because as I say, it was a slump that caused the DNF as opposed to not enjoying the book. The one that I do have on the go right now that I do need to get finished is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is one of my my reads for my science fiction reading project that I should have finished by now, really. This was one of the October books, but we are now just into November and I'm about halfway through because honestly I'm finding it very dry in a lot of it. The thing that's kind of kept me going with it and not just put it down and not come back to it is just as I kind of think, oh no, I can't do any more of the kind of the dryness for me, because I'm not connecting to it. That's my issue. I'm not finding it easy to connect to the characters and things like that. A lot of the writing just isn't kind of my cup of tea in a lot of places. But then Le Guin goes and writes some absolutely phenomenal prose, and it pulls me back into wanting to finish it. And to be fair, the ideas in this, the kind of the discussions, the thoughts, the questions that Le Guin is asking in this are really, really good, really interesting. So that's kind of keeping me going with it. I do really want to kind of get it finished. I don't want to DNF this one for sure, but it's just taking me a lot longer to get through because, as I say, it's not really my kind of writing style at all, in the most part. So we'll see how I fare with that, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself to like rush through it. If I just need to take it a few pages at a time and let it, go over the next month or so, I shall allow myself that. So that's the one I do need to get finished. Okie dokes. Question number 2. Do you have an autumn book to transition into the end of the year? No. I don't kind of think of my reading in terms of seasons and stuff like that. I will probably have some cold weather, some like books set in cold climates, things like that, wintry things when we get around to January, because I quite like reading that kind of stuff in January. But I've not got an autumn book to transition into this part of the year, really. I read what I want when I feel like it, really. So no is the short answer to that. Okay, question 3 then. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? Sort of, although it's already out now. This is something that came out on Audible at the end of October, on the 31st of October, but it's something that has actually been out in physical form and an ebook form for several years, since I think 2016 it's been published in some form, and that's Spiderlight by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And I haven't got it yet, so it is out, but I haven't got it yet, and it's a very, very new release. This is dark fantasy. In fact, there is a on the Audible listing for it, it does tag it as horror as well as dark fantasy. So fingers crossed. I'm not a big fantasy reader generally at all. But I'd quite like to get into some, and I think because I love Adrian Tchaikovsky's science fiction stuff, he's probably a good writer for me to try to get into fantasy with. So yeah, I do like the sound of this one. I will read you the blurb. The Church of Arms of the Light has battled the forces of darkness for as long as anyone can remember. The great prophecy has foretold that a band of misfits, led by a high priestess, will defeat the Dark Lord Darvezian, armed with their wits, the blessing of the light, and an artifact stolen from the merciless Spider Queen. Their journey will be long, hard, and fraught with danger. Allies will become enemies, enemies will become allies, and the Dark Lord will be waiting, always waiting. So yes, I do like the sound of that, and Adrian Tchaikovsky and spiders again. Yeah, I'm in. So yes, I'm going to pick that up, and whether I'll get to it by the end of the year, I don't know. I've got other Adrian Tchaikovskys on my list, but I probably will pick it up by the end of the year, I should think. I've got credits remaining to use. Okie dokes. Question number 4 then is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Start off with another Adrian Tchaikovsky, The City of Last Chances, more fantasy. And this one has come about entirely down to my buddy Lekden over at Reading from the Depths. He mentioned in a comment on another video of mine, I think the other day, that he was interested in reading this one, and did I fancy a buddy read? And I went, yes, because I've got access to this on Audible Plus catalogue. Anyway, and as I say, I am totally not au fait with fantasy, but I love Tchaikovsky's writing style. So I do want to try this, but it's the sort of thing where I think I'll benefit from trying to read it or listen to it with someone else, especially someone who really does know their fantasy. Lekden is very much into his fantasy, but he's never read any Adrian Tchaikovsky, so we've got a good match up there, I believe. I think it's going to be a really good buddy read, so we're starting that at the end of November. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I love, buddy reads are fantastic, and I think that one will be really good doing that with Lekden. Another one on my list then, some science fiction. I've got Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. I read 2 Clarkes this year, the first 2 Clarkes I've ever read. I read Childhood's End towards the beginning of the year, and then 2001: A Space Odyssey, beginning of summer. Really, really liked them both. Loved Childhood's End, and I just want to read some more Clarke. I've been trying to fit some more Clarke in to my reading over the summer and into the autumn already, but I just haven't managed it. So I've kind of said to myself, no, you are going to get to at least one more Clarke before the end of the year. So I picked Rendezvous with Rama. I have it on audio, and I have a physical edition as well, so I can do a combo read if I fancy doing a bit of text, bit of audio. So yeah, really looking forward to diving into some more Clarke. And Rendezvous with Rama is one that constantly pops up as, a favourite for some folks when it comes to Clarke. And the last one that I want to get to by the end of the year is this one, Birdman by Mo Hader. One that I originally saw Olly over at Olly talk about and kind of went, oh, that sounds horrible, but good. And then I've seen various other people talk about it since then and kept sort of thinking, yeah, I really do want to read that. I got this for Christmas last year, and we're nearly coming up to, Christmas again. So I really need to crack on and get this read. I just haven't been able to fit it in, or I've not been in the mood for it. And I think, yeah, when it's dark nights, sometimes I want a bit of, really gritty, dark crime or horror or what have you. And this sounds pretty dark. This is, a sexual serial killer, and it sounds pretty grim. Yeah, I'm going to give this a crack. I think probably not over Christmas. I think, it's not the mood I want to be in. But certainly over the next month or so, this one's going to get read, finally. Okay, question number 5 then is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favourite book of the year? highly unlikely. Yeah, highly unlikely. There could be. I'm always open to that. I'm always hoping the next book I read is going to be a new favorite. You know what I mean? That's what I love about going into something new. But the two that are vying for the top spot at the moment, that kind of switch backwards and forwards a little bit in terms of my best book of the year, which I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. I'm not going to spoil that, and I've not decided. Um, it's going to take something quite special to top either of those. So I think it's highly unlikely, but it's not impossible. Okay, question 6 then is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? Yes, I have. Of course I have. I love thinking ahead to like what next year, what could I do next year. Um, I've already mentioned on another video that I'm embarking on a big Stephen King project where I'm going to be reading his novels in publication order, starting with Carrie in December. But that's just that's going to be an as and when I can fit them in, I'm in the mood for them. Hopefully one every couple of months or so. But yeah, it's going to be a big project. There's like 60 something novels to get through, so it's going to take me a long time to do it. But that's part of my next year's plans. I'm continuing on with my science fiction for the somewhat hesitant project, although I think I need to slightly retitle that because I am slightly less hesitant now with certain sorts of science fiction. I've started to find my groove a little bit now. But yeah, I've got another 20 something books all sorted for that next year. So continue on with that. And then I've also just started to think about a horror project as well, because I've been loving science fiction and getting into that, I have neglected my horror this year somewhat. And also I kind of sort of thinking about how I've not really read any, sort of old school horror for quite a long time, and that's what got me into horror. It's like Stephen King stuff from the 1970s and 80s, James Herbert, it was Clive Barker, that kind of thing. So I want to go back to reading some of that I've not read yet, and looking not just at British horror authors, because I've read quite a few bits from them in the past, but also looking at more American horror authors as well that I've not read anything of. People like T.D. Klein and Thomas Tryon and Shirley Jackson. I still need to read more Shirley Jackson than just The Flipping Lottery. So I'm just mulling at the moment on exactly what books I'm going to put in that project. So if you have any ideas, suggestions for authors, American or British, that I might want to look at, sort of certainly 20th century, then yeah, let me know. If there's anything in particular that I should consider popping on that project reading list. As I say, I'm mulling at the moment, but yeah, there will be a horror reading project, a kind of modern classics horror reading project for next year. But that's all. I'm limiting it to those are my projects. Otherwise, I could go on and on and on with, I could do projects here, there, and everywhere, and then I'll end up overfacing myself again, and I'm not doing that next year. So those are all the questions. So there you go. That's a little bit of information about what I've still got left to read this year, and some ideas for where I'm going with reading next year. I won't tag anybody in this. I've seen quite a few folks, do it already for this year. But if you haven't and you fancy a crack at it, then consider yourselves tagged, of course. But yeah, that will do from me today, I think. Thank you very much for watching, folks. As always, do drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do let me know, anything in particular that you're desperate to get to by the end of the year. Anything you're still waiting for to come out, to release, that you're desperate to get your hands on. All that kind of stuff, and any ideas you've got for what you might be reading next year, drop all of that in the comments. As always, it's always lovely to hear from you. I will be back on Tuesday with a very quick update on Trash Tales, the anthology of trashy fiction that Olly and I are publishing next year. And then I'll be back next weekend with some other stuff for your viewing pleasure. So I do hope you'll join me for all of that then. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.